AI system harms a patient, who should be held accountable? The developer, the institution, or the clinician who trusted it?
If you were to listen to some of what's going on in healthcare AI, you would think that AI is caring for patients today, right? It's not.
Why does pediatric expose the cracks in AI system faster than almost any other area? When you think about the next generation of clinicians entering a world where AI is everywhere, what's the one principle or mindset you believe they must hold on to?
You are watching 101 Talks with Sachin Menon, breaking down complex ideas into simple conversations.
AI is entering hospitals faster than policy, faster than training, and honestly, faster than common sense. But here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to answer. Who's actually in charge when AI enters healthcare? Is it technology? Is it policy? Or is it the frontline clinician? My guest today has lived all three worlds. He's treated patients, he's written policy, he's built national education frameworks. And now he is one of the loudest voices saying, slow down, understand first, and deploy later. Dr. Steven Ferrara, welcome to 101 Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sachin.
Dr. Steven, you have been a clinician, an academic, and a national policy leader. Most people pick one lane, practice, policy, or technology. You chose the intersection. Why was it important for you to stay in all three worlds instead of specializing in just one?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you that it was very intentional of my journey to choose all three, but it really happened as an iterative process. So I'll always consider myself a clinician first, right? As a nurse practitioner, I've been educated and prepared to treat patients for primary care. But what I found as a clinician was frustration. And that frustration was a result of systems being very inefficient and me having barriers to be able to take care of patients. So my first sort of exit outside of the clinical world was health policy. And, I realized that policies are what dictate how easy or how difficult it is for clinicians to do the work that they've done. So the policy fit was a natural one. And then of recent, within the last few years, was the technology piece. And I've always been a technology geek at heart, but have no formal education in technology. And I've always been a tech person at heart. People come to me and say, how do I use this, or help me figure this out? And I'm happy to play that role. And there's a huge opportunity for us in healthcare to adopt thoughtfully the technology, because I do believe that the technology will reduce some of those barriers. And what's most important for me is that I want to be able to take better care of my patients. And I believe the technology piece is going to help me with that.
Wow. So, speaking about your mission of AI literacy, is your mission about teaching people AI tools, or is it about reshaping how clinicians think about AI even before they even touch one?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both, but it has to be grounded in how these systems work. And look, generative AI is all around us today, right? It's accessible for anyone with a connection to the internet. And people are going to use them for personal use. They're going to use them for professional use. But we're doing ourselves a disservice if we think when we use these tools that they're infallible, right? Because no tool is infallible. And I would say that my core message is that these are powerful tools, but at the end of the day, we as clinicians have licenses, right? We get our licenses to practice. And that license, you could lose it if you are not thoughtful and critically thinking about each and every scenario. So I think that the technology is fantastic. It's not infallible, and clinicians need to be mindful about that, because if you've ever used a large language model, you know that It's very convincing, right? Sounds like it's a good suggestion.
It's
And it's also very, it wants to compliment you as the user. So it's really hard as a clinician when we have a patient that's telling us something that we have an instinct that something might be wrong or something is not adding up, and then we have a large language model telling us something different, right? So that is going to be the key that we need to understand as we move forward. What does my clinical sense tell me? What does the data tell me? And what does the LLM tell me?
Yes, you are very right. The LLM models try to satisfy us, give us the confidence and make us feel proud. So if we tell, is it true? Then it answers in that way. And if we ask them, is it false? Then it answers in that way. So you are very right on that part. Speaking about AI, you have said something that should honestly be printed and posted on all hospitals' walls, is what I think. You have said AI literacy must come before AI implementation, right? For our audience, why is this such a non-negotiable item for you?
It's simply that if we don't understand how the systems work, we can't confidently use them, and we can't confidently teach our patients to on how to use them. I mean, we're at a point now where with recent introduction with OpenAI and Anthropic that are making their platforms and encouraging people to use them for health, we're going to be having patients come to us and saying, look, ChatGPT said this is what's wrong with me. Now, we can't dismiss that because we know that the patient took time to enter their symptoms into the model, but we need to understand what symptoms did they enter and did they enter all of them and what was the context. So we can't have patients, right, who know their bodies better than anyone else, but we can't have them understanding large language models better than their clinicians, right, when using for health. So it's critical. It's critical. It's critical. And the as they say, the cat's already out of the bag. AI is here today. And right now, I really feel that we're playing catch up. And the field is moving so rapidly that it is hard, but it's a professional responsibility today to understand how AI works and to use it competently.
And to elaborate on that, see, imagine I am a hospital CEO under pressure. Can you explain it to me? What actually goes wrong when AI is implemented first and understood later?
Yeah, you could absolutely be using incorrect suggestions from the large language model, which opens you up to litigation and poor patient outcomes. And there's the other piece that I haven't talked about is the privacy and security aspects of it. So it's multifactorial when you contemplate using these powerful tools. And again, it has to start with how do these work? They're models that are predictive, right? Unlike what we've used like textbooks, right? You could go to a textbook and you get the information and it's there and there's a reference to it and it's easy. Large language models, as we know, are trained on data and as a result are predicting tokens, right? And I'm not going to get too technical, but that prediction could be wrong based on the input of the user. So it's so very important that we just understand conceptually that these are predictive models. They don't account for every situation. And critically, how were the models trained? What was the data that the models were trained on? So, these are critical questions that clinicians need to understand before they're using and can confidently use the tool for patient care.
You have given us deep insights to look at. And you have specifically spoken about AI in pediatric care. Yeah. Why does pediatric expose the cracks in AI system faster than almost any other area?
Yeah, so pediatrics is a specialty unto itself because you're not just having your individual patient, but it's the family dynamic that you need to also work with. Pediatricians and family practice people, their patient is not just the individual, it's the family dynamic. So we need to consider that when we're caring for those individuals. And we know that as a population, pediatrics are more sensitive to treatments. They could have a episode that rapidly affects them more so than an adult. So these are things that we need to bear in mind when we're caring for pediatric populations. And then there's the health literacy of our pediatric patients. We're having patients of, from newborn to adolescents. They have different understandings of health and technology as well. So it makes things that much more challenging. And that's why it's even more important that we have that foundation for that particular population.
Yes, coming to that, when an AI system harms a patient, who should be held accountable? The developer, the institution, or the clinician who trusted it?
It's a great question. I wish I had a good answer. I mean, traditionally, right, it's the clinician. The clinician is the human in the loop, is the last person to determine what the treatment should be. But I think what we're going to see is that responsibility shifting. And I personally believe that developers owe it to any clinician using the tool that there's a level of transparency of how this model works and why it determined a particular solution. Traditionally it's been the clinician. As we say, it's my license to lose because software developers don't get a license to practice healthcare. But I think we're going to be seeing that. I think we're going to be seeing a relationship between the clinician and between the platform that they're using. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we need to acknowledge if we have data, if we have solutions that are better, we should be using them, but only if we can verify the authenticity and the source and the reference to it. I think we're not there yet, but certainly we're on the road there.
That's very well put, Dr. Steven. Let's zoom out. Let's come out of this and fast forward 5 to 10 years. Beyond efficiency and automation, how does AI change the identity of a healthcare professional?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I love to put on my future thinking hat.
Yes,
I think what we will see, what my hope is, right? My hope is that the technology is there, but it's invisible. I don't want the technology to come between my patient or our patients and myself. And if the technology works and it works well and I'm able to take better care of my patient, well, then that's what we should be aiming for. So, I want the technology to support me. I don't want it to replace me. And from a patient's perspective, because these large language models are models that you're having conversations with, right? That's the whole idea. I want this to be seamlessly integrated into the encounter when seeing my patient, right? I mean, the whole idea of how we take care of patients, it's you come to see me in my office and we talk and you tell me what's wrong. And then I tell you how I'm going to fix it, right? But that's not reality. That's only one moment in time. So what I hope to see is that AI and technology is gathering data all along, right, for patients. And I'm able to check in with my patients and have evidence and say, yes, I can understand why you haven't been feeling well because this is what the data is telling me. And this is how we're going to accomplish your improvement together. And maybe, right? And maybe this is again thinking in the future, It doesn't take a visit of you coming to see me to do that. That I can proactively reach out to you and say, hey, I've noticed some things, on your health data. Have you been feeling okay? Do we need to adjust medications? And I think that is where I hope that's where we get that we could be proactive when it comes to healthcare. We could become intuitive, and the technology is working and it's enabling us to take better care and become healthier as a society as a result of it.
Yes, hopefully, next 5-10 years, we will have all healthy people around.
It's what we should aim for. This is why we do this, right? Why would we want to take the best care of patients? And we could talk about, the financial side of things, and there's a lot of money in patients who are sick, right? A lot of medications and a lot of, health systems benefit from that. So once you start peeling the onion, right? And that's my health policy piece. It's what are the ramifications of healthier people? What happens as a result where we move from a sick care model to a well care model? So it's fun to think about that. And I do hope that we are actually having those conversations because we are healthier as a result.
Yeah, like they say, prevention is the best cure. We might
Yes.
reach there with AI. And coming to my student audience, if you were designing education today for students entering healthcare, what must they learn about AI that your generation never had to, your and my generation never had to?
Yeah. What I'm most concerned about is the ability to critical think, because it's easy for us to leave it to the large language model to do it. So we can't let critical thinking erode and become something that people don't have any longer. So that's, I think so important that the ability to the critical think is not lost. And that means that, we as educators need to redesign assignments so that we're ensuring that the critical thinking piece is not lost. As the generations are more literate with the technology, they might have been using it, but don't understand how it works, right? So I think what we can't forget is that these models are not perfect and that we need to continue to critically think. The other piece is that we can't lose the human connection when it comes to caring for patients. They've done studies that where patients have written messages to their clinicians and the responses came from a large language model. And what people found was that the large language model responses were more empathetic than the clinician responses. And I can explain why that's happening, right? Because when I'm answering messages, it's in between seeing patients. It's in between doing documentation. It's in between doing everything else that I'm responsible to do. Whereas the AI can do it in seconds, right? And be very empathetic. So, we have a privilege as healthcare providers of caring for patients and their families. We can't lose sight of that because it is a privilege. And, people trust us. And if we lose that trust, then it's going to be very scary, in my opinion.
Yes, trust is very important in healthcare.
So important. So important.
And looking back, was there a single moment in your journey fundamentally changed how you see healthcare in your growth period?
Yeah, I think I don't know if there was a single moment. I think it was just the culmination of the administrative and bureaucracy that any clinician working today faces, right? Inefficient systems, barriers that make it harder to do what it is we're wanting to do, which is take care of our patients, making sure that our patients can afford medications and afford the things that we're recommending. So, it's as a young clinician, you go in and you want to care and treat for everyone. And if that was the only thing we had to do, that would be great. But the reality is, and this is worldwide, it's not specific to any one country, is that being able to provide care has lots of different layers to it. And a clinician has to be mindful and aware of those layers and how to navigate that together with our patients. And that's, I think bringing all those pieces together. So there was no one moment for me. It was a culmination of, wow, I'm working in this healthcare system or these healthcare systems, and it's terribly frustrating and inefficient. How can we make that better? And that's where I wanted to become more involved with, is how do we solve some of these problems and how can I contribute to the solution?
Combination of working and the frustration what you faced, right, is the
Yes,
moment you have come here. Yeah. So let's come
absolutely.
to today. You have launched AI plus Nurse Academy. What was the moment where you said the gap is dangerous if you don't fix it now?
It started with my work at my institution at Columbia University. I work at the School of Nursing, and I've been the associate dean of artificial intelligence. And once I started having these conversations with people about AI, with faculty and with students, I realized that there's a lot of misunderstanding or a lack of knowledge of what AI truly is. So the more conversations I had, the more I realized that there's a literacy problem. And we need to make sure that when I talk about AI systems, that colleagues understand how they work and what the limitations of them are. I've looked for solutions out there, and there are some good ones, some Google and GE Health Systems. There's some good AI literacy foundational platforms that are out there, but I didn't find any that were from the perspective of a nurse. And when we talk about healthcare and nurses, I'm proud to be a nurse and a nurse practitioner. Nurses are the largest sector of the healthcare workforce, right? Worldwide, there's 9 million nurses. So I said I wanted to create a platform that is foundational for AI, but from the perspective of a nurse, and launched it in October of 2025, and have my first course up there, and am getting some traction from nurses who have decided to purchase the course, and I'm working currently on adding more content to the platform.
Bringing the conversation closer to my home, India. India has scale, talent, and data, and massive inequality at the same time. Do you see AI as a force that could democratize healthcare in India, or does it risk widening the gap even further?
If done correctly, it should democratize access and data, but it's very easy to fall into the trap of where, only those who are more well off and, are able to use it. And that's the last thing we want, is two systems, right? One for the haves and one for the not haves. So again, this is in our power and our control, as policymakers, as members of communities. And, it would be a shame if we continued down the pathway that this is technology for only those who are better off in life to use. We have to make sure that there's no inequities, that it is accessible for everyone. And believe me, it's easy for us to say that. It's something completely different to actually have it happen. So there is a lot of work to do. It's in my opinion, all of our responsibilities to see to it that it does happen. And if I can help with that, I want to be able to help with that.
Sure. That's a wonderful thought, what you have put across. And following up with the statement you have mentioned, if Indian healthcare leaders were listening to you right now, what's the one mistake you would want them not to repeat from the Western AI adoption
Yeah.
in healthcare?
I would say, look, there's a lot of hype when it comes to AI and technology in healthcare. And I don't want to say don't believe the hype, but I think we need to take a measured approach to the technology. Um, Right now there is the most adoption of health AI in the ambient scribe space, right? So we're using AI to listen to our encounters with patients and write a note for us, right? Write a summary of the highlights of what's happening. But if you were to listen to some of what's going on in healthcare AI, you would think that AI is caring for patients today, right? It's not, and I think you have to take a measured approach, and um, there should be a level of hype, but not a level of where you think it's already too late to catch up. So adequately hype it, don't overhype it, and learn about it. So I gave you a few different takeaways that I would encourage
Yeah,
leaders in India to listen to.
this is exactly our objective also, to remove the hype from the AI, right? And bring real world conversations, grounded conversations, so that the fluff is removed and people understand what's actually going on. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
you said it right on that. And we are coming to the rapid fire round. Quick
Okay.
answers.
Okay.
First thing what comes to your mind. We'll start. Yes. The one habit from your clinical days you still can't shake.
I would say, oh, that's a good question. One habit is, I want to say spending too much time with my patient. Yeah, I would say spending too much time and trying to balance all the responsibilities.
True. And if you weren't in healthcare or AI, what would you definitely be doing instead?
So I am a car enthusiast. So I would say I would like to be doing something with automobiles, whether that be washing them, detailing them, or something in the automotive space.
It's good to know that. One decision in medicine that should never be fully automated.
Empathy. We need to remain human beings and be empathetic to our patients, and we can't lose that.
Absolutely. AI in healthcare today, more substance or more theater?
More theater right now, but the substance is catching up.
Okay. What's your favorite way to mentally switch off after a long, intense day?
Being able to spend some time with my family, my loved ones, and going for a walk. Just a short walk, connecting with nature, just trying to be grounded in knowing that you are one small speck in this massive world.
Big universe. What's something people would be surprised to learn about you outside work?
I like to play hockey and am in a weekly street hockey league that I'm a goalie. So I like to play
Okay.
I like to play sports, and something you don't usually think of.
It's very hard for a hockey goalie, right? Because of
Yes.
football, you have a huge ball.
Yes.
It's very
It's
tough.
not so big.
Yeah, yeah. And hockey is the national game of India. Though cricket is the passion what many people
Yes.
follow.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, when they had the World Cricket this past summer, I think it was, I became much more aware and I watched some cricket. So it was fun to learn a new sport.
yeah, yeah. And final question, a little philosophical, non-tech. Take your time with this. When you think about the next generation of clinicians entering a world where AI is everywhere, what's the one principle or mindset you believe they must hold on to, no matter how advanced the technology becomes?
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna repeat a little bit of what I said before, is that when you see a patient, they're giving you they're very vulnerable and they're there to see you because there's something theoretically wrong with them, right? They're sick, they're not feeling well. We can't forget that. And technology is not going to make us be more empathetic. It could help us be more mindful, and it could give us more time to concentrate on the human aspect of the people that we're seeing. But it would be scary to me if we as healthcare clinicians gave that up to technology, because I think we find meaning in connections that we have with people, and we want to be able to make people feel better. And We can't forget those stories. We can't forget the complexities of what that person is going through. They are a member of their family. They could be a father, a daughter, a brother, a sister. We can't forget that, because otherwise we're just treating widgets, right? They're just another number, and we can't let that happen. I think we want to find meaning. We want to find purpose, and we can't give that away to any technology. So we need to remain grounded in those principles.
What a wonderful way of closing this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen, this conversation was about responsibility. You reminded us that the future of healthcare won't be decided by algorithms, but by humans who choose how, when, and why to use them. If this episode made you uncomfortable, good. That means it mattered. Stephen, thank you for standing where few are willing to stand.
Thank you so much. We don't have all the answers, but we should know. We should be asking the question. So thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I'd love to touch base again at some point.